We acknowledge we are hosted on the lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples.
Hello, and welcome to Tips and Tricks for Helping Children Return to School. My name is Afshan Siddiqui. I am a psychologist with the board. Yvonne Wyndham, a speech-language pathologist, and I will be presenting you with some ideas to make your students' transition back to school as easy as possible. We have several topics in a series of presentations. This particular video is on managing feelings of anxiety. Some of our other topics are preparing for change, making connections, getting ready for school expectations, and improving focus. We also have a video on helping older students that covers much of the information in these other videos. The videos can be viewed in any order, so please feel free to watch them in whichever order you prefer. Going back to school can cause feelings of anxiety at the best of times. Remembering back, I can remember that when I was younger, I would get butterflies in my stomach before going back to school after the summer. Now, after the students have been at home for such an extended period of time, along with all of the chaos that's going on in the world, it's likely that many children will be feeling even more nervous about going back to school. We can manage anxious feelings with some good coping techniques. The purpose of this presentation is to help you manage your students' anxiety about going back to school.
Anxiety is a normal emotion. We all feel anxious at times. In fact, anxiety can be helpful. It's our body's response to stress or danger. We can have anxious thoughts and body sensations. Too much anxiety can be overwhelming and cause problems, so it's important that we manage our anxiety with some good coping techniques.
Anxiety can affect your body in different ways. It may be mentally, such as your mind racing with different thoughts, or even a physical feeling, such as sweating or your heart racing. Anxiety may even cause a person to feel nauseous or lose their appetite. This resource comes from milemarks.com. This website has some nice free downloadable resources and printables to use with children. Here, we can ask children to identify where they feel anxiety in their body to help them become more aware and to talk about how to cope with those feelings. Even with a regular return to school, anxiety can cause lots of thoughts of uncertainty for children, and it's even more pressing now. They may wonder, what if someone I love gets sick? What if I get sick? Something bad could happen to my parents when I'm at school. Maybe the work will be too hard for me this year. What if none of my friends are in my class? I like my teacher. This graphic is from gozen.com. It shows 8 ways that a child's anxiety may manifest itself as something else. For instance, anger. The perception of danger, stress, or opposition may trigger the fight or flight response and leave your child angry, and they're not able to communicate why. They may also have difficulty sleeping. They might not be able to fall asleep or stay asleep, and that could be a characteristic of anxiety. Defiance. A child that's unable to communicate what's going on may show as being defiant because they're trying to control a situation where they feel anxious and helpless. Chandeliering. Chandeliering is when a person that you usually think of as quite calm suddenly flies off the handle for no reason. They may have pushed hurt and anxiety so deep down for so long that something very innocuous or harmless that's said to them, or something that's happening that seems fairly okay, suddenly sends them straight through the chandelier, hence the term chandeliering. Lack of focus. Some children with anxiety are often so caught up in their own thoughts that they don't even pay attention to what's going on around them. And that could also be a sign of anxiety. Avoidance. Children who are trying to avoid a particular person or place or task often end up experiencing more of whatever it is that they're actually trying to avoid. Negativity. People with anxiety tend to experience negative thoughts at a much greater intensity than positive thoughts. Overplanning. Overplanning and defiance go hand in hand in their root cause. Where anxiety can cause some children to try to take back control through defiant behavior, it can cause others to overplan for situations where planning is not really needed, or it's a very simple situation and they are overthinking it. Are signs that anxiety could be occurring in your child. There are lots of different ways, and these are not the only ways that it shows up, but it just gives you an idea for you to be aware and to help your child with the coping tools that we hope to give you through this presentation.
The question we would want answered is, how can we help? There are several ways that we can help our students. One way is to help them identify what they are feeling. Another way is to identify what they are thinking. And then finally, practice coping skills so that they can change what they might be doing as a result of what they are feeling and they are thinking. In order to help your students identify what they are feeling, talk about anxiety with your students and let them know it's normal to feel worried sometimes and that we all feel those feelings. Ask your students to color in the attached worksheet. We will try to link up the resources so that you have access to them. If we aren't able to provide access, you can always either draw out a body or
look up something online. You would then ask your students to show you where in their body they're feeling their sensations of anxiety.
Another way to help your children or students identify how they are feeling is by using a scale of some sort to help them recognize when their feelings of upset are increasing. So I've just pulled up a visual from the internet to give us an idea of how we can use a thermometer to demonstrate that, and then just inserted some text boxes with some emotions or feelings that they might be feeling at each level. At the bottom, they could be feeling relaxed. Going up the scale, they're feeling calm. As their feelings increase even further, they're feeling more tense and anxious. And then at the very top level, they're feeling panicked. You can work with your children, help them identify where they are or which level they're at, and then determine ways to help them cope with what they're feeling at each level. You would also want to help your students identify what they're thinking. You can have them write their thoughts in a journal or put them in a worry jar, and then you would talk to your students about their worries and try to reframe them into more realistic thoughts if possible. You can also use a worry decision tree to try to decide what to do with the worry. There is a free resource available at psychologytools.com that will allow you to go through a worry decision tree. You would first have your students think about what they are worrying about, and then decide if it's a problem that they can do something about. If not, you would ask them to let the worry go and change their focus of attention. If there is something that they can do about it, you would try to help them work out what they could do and list their options. Then you would want to know, is there anything they can do right now about that worry? If not, then you could have them plan what they could do and when they would do it, and then let the worry go and change their focus of attention. If there is something they can do right now, then you would have them do it. You would also need to practice some good coping skills. One way is through modeling calm and coping yourself. When you model your calm and coping, your students will learn from your example. As a class, you can also practice many different types of coping skills that can help in terms of managing feelings of anxiety. So things like deep breathing and progressive muscle relaxation, which is where you tense and release your muscles systematically in order to produce feelings of relaxation. Positive self-talk, things like telling yourself, I can do it. Writing in gratitude journals to help focus on the positive things in life and the things that your class is thankful for. Doing other calming activities like listening to music and coloring. Reducing the use of social media. Engaging in physical activity and mindfulness, which we discuss in another one of our videos on improving focus, on how they can help focus our attention and calm our body. And laughing, which is a great way to release some stress.
You can help your students create a list of what helps them to manage their anxiety. Here's a nice visual that demonstrates that there are many different ways to cope with our feelings. This list isn't exhaustive. There's many ideas that aren't included on here. Spend some time with your students to develop a tool that they can use to go back to help them with managing or coping with their feelings.
For some students, they may need more help than you can give them. In those situations, you would recommend that they contact places like the Kids Help Phone, which they can call or text. There's also the WhatsApp walk-in clinics, which offer free virtual and phone counseling. You would also want to encourage parents to speak with their family doctor about accessing services for your students. And when school resumes, you can consult with the school support team to access additional help. There are also many books that are available that can be helpful in terms of helping children manage their feelings of anxiety.
These are just a couple examples.
There are many more books out there, so please take a look through the professional library to see what resources the TDSB has available. Here are the things to remember from this video. Anxiety is a normal and sometimes helpful part of life, particularly nowadays. Too much anxiety can be overwhelming. You can help your students by helping them to identify their feelings and thoughts to give them a better understanding of what they are coping with. And then practice coping skills with your students so that they can independently use them when they are feeling anxious. Get help for your students when they need extra help that you may not be able to provide them. Thanks for watching our video on managing feelings of anxiety. We hope that this information will be useful to you. Please consider watching some of our other videos for more information. Thanks again.